Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. Before I begin, a couple quick announcements. If you are interested in signing up for the various different classes that I do offer, the way to do that is to go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, Tier 3. That's the way you want to go. Tier 3. Tier 3 gives you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual we do at the end of every month. This upcoming Friday's, September's end of the month ritual is the Kalima ritual, which we'll be doing here, obviously live and in person with some of the local people. And anybody is welcome to come when we do the rituals at the end of the month, which we do every month here. Well, we did that prior to the pandemic. People would come and visit. You are welcome. You just need to give me a call. We need to just have a quick screen call just to see, who you are, and identify where you are on the path and know that you're coming. So I just want to extend that invitation. Anybody's welcome. If you're in the area or you're traveling down this way or you want to come down this way, feel free to join us at the end of the month for any of our monthly rituals with some of the local crew here. All right. So that's the way to get in on the classes. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, Tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. Also, 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference in full effect. You can sign up, register now. 4-day event from the 19th to the 22nd. Kicks off on the 19th with a meet and greet. Friday and Saturday classes, workshops, presentations, rituals, group dinner, family dinner, hanging out, listening, music, fun, socializing, all that shit on Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday it closes out. I'll be doing a Q&A, question and answer session from noon to 4 p.m. And that closes out the ritual. You could also attend virtually. Shoot me an email if you're interested in either registering or signing up virtually or in person. KHNUM19@gmail.com. If you are also interested in a spiritual reading or a spiritual consultation, I offer various different readings, telepathic demonic readings, different kinds, Egyptian oracle readings, Santa Muerte readings, shadow work readings, deity readings. For a full list of readings and how to book a spiritual reading or a consultation, again, shoot me an email at KHNUM19@gmail.com. Also, to speed up the process, put the days and times you're available throughout the week, along with the time zone that you live in. Because as I've said, I deal with people in all the time zones within the United States, and I deal with people overseas in London, other parts of Europe, Africa, you name it. So sometimes I get weeks where it's kind of challenging to schedule. So that helps. Be very clear on the time zone that you're in and your region and all that. Also, all this content is being uploaded to the Primordial Chaos podcast, which is available on all Spotify, all major podcast platforms. You can now listen to this in audio format, hanging around the house, driving, exercising, whatever. You have that option now. Check that out. All right. Don't forget to check out our social media pages. Primordial Chaos 9, one word, on Instagram. Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook. Everything that I just described, the link to the podcast, my contact email address, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, the social media pages, Instagram and Facebook. Everything is in the description box of this video that you are currently watching right now. All right, you see the title, Necromancy. Let's talk about the spiritual practice of necromancy. Now, necromancy, there's a lot. I might even do a next live on that. That's something that could be talked to, and I think that's what I will do in my next live. But this again, just to reiterate, as you see, I've been doing these series for now the last few weeks, 3-4 weeks or more, whatever. These are quick tutorials. Okay, so I can't cover everything in a 25 to 30 minute video. But let's do a quick tutorial on what necromancy is, the spiritual practice of necromancy on the occult and the left-hand path. The English word necromancy obviously comes from the word necro, which is the Greek word for dead, right? I'm in opposition to that. I don't really like to say We say spirits of the dead because physically they have transitioned on to immortality or eternal life. So, yes, we describe it the dead, but that's not technically what it really is. Now, necromancy is very diverse because it transitions into other paths. I've mentioned this before. There's a connection with necromancy and vampiric magic or vampirism practices. There's a connection with necromancy working with your ancestors as far as ancestral veneration, not worship. The acknowledgement of the greatness of your bloodline. Okay? There's connection with necromancy and working with other systems, say as voodoo. So it's very diverse across the board. It cross-references a lot of systems or spiritual philosophies or practices that we utilize on the occult or the left-hand path. Okay, now again, I know we hear the mainstream term necromancy is working with, we hear this term spirits of the dead. But the question is, are they really dead? Okay, that's the question. Again, we're only saying that because physically they have transitioned on. So you are connecting with spirits who have reached that next cycle or phase in their evolution of immortality. Because as I said, this all goes in cycles. So necromancy can be worked if you want to contact an ancestral spirit. It can be worked, look, there's some dark, destructive aspects. You can conjure up, I'm just going to keep this simple, I'm not going to go into depth. People do some really dark work with it where you could conjure up the spirit of a violent murderer, right? This is real. I'm just, going to keep it real with you. You can conjure up spirits that we're familiar with on the left-hand path that connect with the necromancy path. I mentioned Abaddon. We did a video earlier on Abaddon. A lot of the vampiric gods are connected to necromancy work. Kali, right? There's dark aspects of Kali that connect also with necromancy. Ampu or Anubis. When you get into voodoo or voodoo, the Samdis, okay, Mama Brigitte. The question that always comes up, people always send a lot of emails, if I'm working necromancy, when it comes to archetypes or spirits or demons, what archetypes can I connect with, to activate, my psyche and connection to this path, as far as placing them on my altar, things of that nature. Okay? And my answer to that is always any gateway deity or archetype that bridges the connection from this physical world to the world of immortality or the dead. So you can have Ampu or Anubis because he's the god of the necropolis or the underworld, right? Or the abode of the dead. He has that connection with necromancy work. We did a ritual of Anubis dealing. It was a necromancy rite we did about a year ago, I believe it was. He is a very powerful archetype or energy to connect with when it comes in regards to working with necromancy. There are also, and to get into some others, as I said, the Barons or the Samdis and voodoo or voodoo, the black aspect, contrary to belief, and again I want to clarify this, contrary to all the spookism that's out there in regards to the Holy Death, also known as Santa Muerte, right? All that bullshit with that, if you work with Santa Muerte, you can only work with her and nobody else. That's that traditional shit. Stop smoking that crack rock. Stop sipping the Kool-Aid. That's not true. Santa Muerte is a very volatile spirit that you need to keep her stuff in line personally and nothing else when it comes to altars and work. But having said that, and I don't want to make this a Santa Muerte video, but the black aspect of the Holy Death can be an effective archetype on your necromancy altar. Okay, that is the only aspect really of Santa Muerte that you can connect in other paths, because when we're dealing with, Santa Muerte, her aspect, as what one would call a Grim Reaper aspect, the reaping of souls, it goes a bunch deeper. It goes deeper than that. Guiding the soul through the underworld. You have the element of the owl. Remember, how do you ritualize the archetype? You have the owl, which is a nocturnal creature, which deals with going into the darkness, because owls have nocturnal vision. They have impeccable vision in darkness. So the symbol of the owl is strong there. There's a lot of stuff there connected with going into the darkness to gain that true knowledge or intellect, aka light, that one would need in order for them to evolve and grow on the path. So the black aspect of Santa Muerte most definitely can be used, or any gateway or bridge deity. Now, some people connect ancestral spirits. It's incorporated in their necromancy work, connecting with those spirits that have transitioned on. And again, there's different perspectives and practices on necromancy. Christian Day's book, The Witch's Book of the Dead, is a good, and he actually just came out with a revised version of it not too long ago. So if you have the original, there's a lot of new information in the revised. That is a good book, in my opinion, with some good information suggesting some very neutral practices you can incorporate across the board. So some people also, with the spirits of the dead, create their own entities, right? Almost like servitors. And again, it's a little more complex and deep. I'm just not going to get into all that in a video of this nature. But yes, some conjure up these dark gods and goddesses, or these entities. Sometimes it's tapping into an energy source as a whole to create other entities. And I know that's a little complex. Again, I'm not going to really get into in depth with that. That's something I think it's talked about in private. But that can be worked too. Almost what we call in spirituality and the occult, an egregore, which is a network or a grouping or a collective current of energy. And vampire currents have egregores. We can call them covens, right? We have these different terms. It's where everybody is linked in to a very similar same current or energy, where dreams you can enter. Individuals have the ability also to enter into each other's dreams when that egregore, that current, is strong. So necromancy connects with a lot of higher spiritual sciences. Yes, there's dealing with the astral realm and prana energy, the astral gates, astral travel, out-of-body experience, which so does vampirism, right? And it's unique with both of them because vampirism also has a lot of aspects of venerating, your ancestors, and venerating those that have transitioned on that are part of the current, right? And you will see this with covens, right? Which is covens or vampiric covens, which usually are governed and ruled by certain spiritual practices, maybe certain traditions that are kept in those practices that link everybody into that energy or current when you're dealing with, witchcraft or witches of the dead or sorcery, all of these things. So there's a lot of cross-referencing with them, especially with the path of necromancy, which again is very unique because you find elements of it in many different practices. But I always like to point out strongly in vampire magic and strongly in ancestral veneration. Now, the beautiful thing in connecting it with ancestral veneration, it eliminates all that traditional nonsense shit that you see in a lot of traditional spiritual practices. Because you really connect with the spirits in every aspect of them. So if you're working with known spirits, especially bloodline ancestral spirits, as I said before, not all your ancestors who are connected to you by blood were quote-unquote productive, positive individuals when they lived here. Some of them were unfortunately criminals, drug addicts, murderers, killers, etc. They could have been sexual predators. And this is why we don't incorporate we don't pour out libation for all of our ancestors. I'm not going to pour out alcohol for an alcoholic. It makes no sense. I'm creating an energy or a force field to make that ancestral spirit that I don't want to connect with powerful. I'm laying down the foundational element to connect them back to this realm, which they so badly want to be, because they could have certain addictions they have not mastered. So when you're working necromancy and this form of witchcraft and sorcery, again, just like anything else, do your due diligence and gather your knowledge. Do your research. Understand what it is the fuck you're doing. Don't ignorantly jump into this type of practice and you start to open up things within yourself that you're not prepared for. That's what we don't want. So when you are connecting, ancestral veneration, the ancestors, as far as working with the dead, it's a very good practice when you incorporate it, because it's more of how we utilize it on the occult or the left-hand path, taking away all that traditional nonsense, okay? Because we do work and venerate the ancestral dead on this path, but not in that religious traditional way. You can summon spirits of the dead through divination rituals and necromancy to actually literally communicate with them, which is another high form of necromancy, sorcery / witchcraft. So there's a lot of practices that we utilize that are not, fall under that category of being traditional, aka super spooky. Okay? So we that's the difference of what we do when we're working with ancestral veneration, right? Now there's different types of work that's connected with necromancy. Yes, there's work that can be done to work with specific spirits at the graveyard or the cemetery. I'm not going to get into a lot of the elements that are used, bones, skulls. When you're doing certain work with spirits, actual aspects of that spirit, for an example, if you do have, can be very powerful vessels to the spirit world and to that particular spirit, which can be used to channel that energy into your objective realm. And again, I'm not going to get into that, here. But necromancy, again, and I'll kind of leave it on this note as I wind this down, is a very, again, unique. It's a very unique practice. Okay, and I would encourage, if you're a practitioner that does not have much experience or no experience at all, definitely read up and gain some knowledge before you start doing necromancy ritual. I've seen people start work like not knowing much. They're working with powders, with bones, and they're doing all this dark work. They might be they might be fascinated by it, but they're not really understanding what they're tapping into and what they're working with and how it can affect them. Okay, it's very important. And necromancy deals a lot with summoning the spirit, so you're working with a lot of energy. It's very important you keep yourself right, because you are working with an abundance of energy, okay? And you're working with an abundance of energy on a multitude excuse me, of levels. And I've seen this over the years, unfortunately. Like, I've seen it with people in voodoo or voodoo, because there's aspects, even in Palo Mayembe, when you're connecting some of those practices, when you're connecting with these spirits of the dead, you have to be careful, because the reality is, and again, I don't say stuff like this because I'm trying to spook people out or scare them. As I've mentioned to you guys before, I've seen people get permanently fucked up trying to connect with stuff like this, and they just wasn't in the right mind frame. They wasn't in a sound mind. And that's kind of the last thing, I want to go over before I close this video, just for a minute or two. If anything, I don't want you to forget. And necromancy, because you are really connecting with some real dark, intense, volatile energy. I just want to make this clear, okay? Because you are connecting with some very dark, volatile energy. Please make sure your mind is right. Okay, I can't stress enough the importance as a whole, but especially for working with necromancy energy, to make sure your mind is not all jacked up. Because I can promise you this, and it's not something I like promising, you're going to get yourself messed up worse than you are. Don't go into necromancy trying to do destructive magic for vengeful purposes, just out of pure vengeance, and you're not justified. That will take a lot out of you. I've seen people who work with necromancy not knowing what they're doing. It ages them very quickly, and there's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into that here either. Right? Those are things we discuss on Patreon. It takes from you. It can suck the vital life force and energy out of you and make you age quicker, literally, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because you're also working with spirits and energy that feed off the life force, is the best way I can describe it. And they'll drain you of your vital life force, which creates that draining vampiric effect and an aging effect, okay? So these are things we need to be very cautious and aware of. So the last, my last point, please be in a solid state of mind if you're going to embark on this path and explore it, okay? I don't care what anybody else tells you. If anything, please listen to that for your own personal benefit, all right? That's all I'm going to talk about for the moment on that. Hope this quick tutorial helped you out. If you need to reach out to me, again, khnum19@gmail.com to book a spiritual reading, a consultation, or if you want information on how to sign up for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, reach out. That's the email. The podcast, the direct link to the podcast, the contact email address, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, the Facebook page, Primordial Chaos, the Instagram page, Primordial Chaos 9. All of that information is in the description box of this video that you're watching. So that's the way you need, if you get at me for any of the above aforementioned. All right. Other than that, hopefully this helped. We'll talk soon on the next video. Infernal blessings.